when the program is to persist for something and to change or direct a different outcome, all that will and within the same create will be resistance. The issue or the problem is the need to resolve and make better, and at what cost, to figure out. What is resistance? Welcome to Day 321. This number 10. What is resistance? We still are open to this theme and what it might be bringing out in us, in our world, in our carbon copy self, that we make clear with every shadow, that we resolve. The solution always points out the problem that we never even knew existed. But the reality of it is that we weren't never looking at the solution. And so like a 2x4, the problem comes with it, so that we may see the solution that we were supposed to in the first place. So what probability, what outcome we decide creates the next and the next scene of our circumstances. And this is page 765 and 66 of lesson 281 out of my book. My name is Reverend Maria Arvanitidis. How do you do? And it's named after my ministry, TheSovereignLight. And this is a course in metaphysical spirituality. So, whenever you're ready, now we have frozen the picture so that we're able to deal with it just a little better from moment to moment. This is just a capture of one moment of the shadow side that we might have been dealing with in previous lessons. Just take a moment, if you have to, use these kind of exercises, these ideas, these seeds of ideas that I'm implanting, that you can create for yourselves, these exercises that you will find within the book. So what slides, just use them as pictures and remove the color if you have to into sepia and then black and white. And these are the shadows we have to clear. These are the moments that we bring into light and animate these moments of our lives that we haven't worked through. And then they come. And what is it we have to do? Stand up for ourselves, perhaps sometimes, in the way of, hey, I know this is a public space, but it's called respect. Do you need me to teach you it? And so sometimes we just accept and allow for these things to happen, and we become desensitized and disconnected as we allow to empower those moments and those subjects and give them permission that it's okay to be doing this. And then they continue on into a place perhaps of extremes called bullies. And they just come in and they don't even realize any social skills, I suppose you would call it, boundaries even, until it happens to them. And will they accept it? Because naturally it's okay. And then in this way, exclusion starts. And in this way, we begin to experience conflict and wars. And in very clever ways that we're experiencing it right now, internally. that we're accepting these invasions, that we will already accepting them and not being aware of them through animals. I know, but sometimes there's parasites in animals that we weren't meant to be too, in a way we can, like the relationship we have with others, not just pets, but how intimate and what kind of dysfunctional relationships that we grow into, codependent, emotionally requiring those things in our lives, as we disempower them and enslave them into our reality. Sometimes we might even call it cruelty to animals, but we become so desensitized we don't even realize it. In the fact that it's okay to even eat them because they're lesser than us, or in the other extreme, to bring back the balance, we give them more entitlement and hierarchy of our own species and kind to form intimacy and relationships with. So because of doing so, the bioflora, they become as fomites. So when we expose them to certain circumstances and domesticate them, for instance, cats, they are incubators of this parasite. I forget now what it's called, the Gandhi high. Anyway, I look it up, but it's a certain type of parasite that they ingest, and the only way it can grow is through living and hosting off a cat, the felines. And then only the domesticated ones, by the way, not the ones that in other countries you see them and they come all around and they're independent and they're more like your friends and you can feed them and then they just come back and around, you know, they're more wild. No, in the ones that we domesticate, and you find them when they're not really, you know, in that transition of domestication. And so what happens to them? And they incubate this parasite, and then they release it out. And when it dries, it's like another form of, it goes into the air like mold would, and then we breathe it in. Or it goes into the water and we drink it and consume it. Either way, we end up with these parasites that we don't even realize are inside of us, in our brain even. And when we start to become a little bit more, I'll show you the wildness of it all. So this is how dogs were meant to be. You see? This is how dogs were meant to be. But we have domesticated things to the level of, but this one parasite I'm referring to only is incubated in cats. And so it goes into our brain, and sometimes we carry it on in our genes by giving birth, and like HDHD, you know, you know, when we give injections to people, I forget now. You know, when kids, the way they are and the way they become, and so so what really happens? Okay, I forget the name now. All these acronyms. I just got a little distracted by the male dog, and there's a female dog, and then there's their child. So it's really amazing how these families grow. And so he just marked this territory on my wheel saying, "This is my space. You're on it." It's amazing. So anyway, so HDHD, okay, and this is man created. And so this other parasite, it creates mental disorders. It creates bipolarism, manic depressant, schizophrenia. Look it up. I think it's called the Gandhi try something. Dogs, anyway, so these things do exist, and my point here being is that our relationships, how distorted they've become, how we evolved and devolved into dysfunctional beings by replacing and connecting ourselves to an attachment emotionally that wasn't meant to be in that level of demonics. So dating back to even Egyptian times, these demons, these parasites, these hosts that allowed and gave permission to the psychedelic of it all, they were parasites, and they still are parasites. And if we allow them, they can wreak havoc within our body, within our system, the kingdom of God. And so, with that said, it might be a little cuckoo crazy, but it sounds like more like my opinion and adding stories to the mix. But just do a little bit research yourself and find these things, and perhaps do a little research on parasites and what they do and the mental disorders that they cause. And the pharmaceutical department is just, this is how they learned to recreate their own, like COVID, for instance. But anyway, that's like politics again. I'd rather not get into it. What I'm referring to here is taking back your power and not allowing yourselves. That is a form of weakness, because it's like saying, I want to form a relationship with something outside of me as my better half, but I cannot find anything equivalent to that, or I keep outgrowing it. No, they're just lessons to make you stronger, to find out and learn more about yourself. Like God, this awareness has created us into individuated slivers of the oneness that we engage with to learn more about ourselves. And in this process of completion, wholeness, holiness. So when we are ready in that level, then we can have healthy relationships. And our mental bodies, our energetic bodies are cleared. And we are connected to all our bodies, all our systems, all 12 of them. And we become creators, not victims of our own reality. So I know it's a little deep. I know it's all over the place, perhaps not being able to understand it because it's not compartmentalized enough for you. So I can take one topic and just talk about it in theory and all. No, you do the rest. And if you can't relate to it, then you would never be here anyway. I have to distract you and with magic tricks. Like, look at this picture and all this. No, this is a faded picture. The point I'm trying to make with this one is use your imagination. Planting these seeds of ideas that you can do, even a meditation, a workshop, something to help you clear of your own shadows and of the background people, background noises that want to take away. And how you deal with them is, they are a part of you, screaming out, hey, I'm part of your clutter, man. Anyway, so let's continue on. Ground and center, and take a nice deep breath in and out. And why do we say find it in the heart space center to congregate and breathe through? Because this is what electromagnetically we create our morphogenic field with. It's not just the thoughts. And it's memory and feelings. And so we have more electromagnetic components here than we do up here. And it's really outside of us that it's showing us as a physical body having this spiritual experience, when in fact we are this awareness, this consciousness, this spirit having a human experience of this physical body that we have proven by touching and solid form that we are real, but we keep changing moment by moment. With every breath in and out, we keep reanimating. And just so very slightly. And with that said, regenerating. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. Take a nice deep breath in. And say these words out loud. Let's commence. Sounds good? When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. To learn the course and from where miracles are already unfolding to exist within awareness is the observation and of the observer while having the experience. So what are you experiencing in this moment? What is it that you're experiencing in this moment? Today, make it such to find this observer, and for especially when the confusion might set in from losing to resistance, comparing the divine expression of thyself to another's can dull the luster of the self. And so it does dull the luster in a way that, well, you're looking at it. This is the whole point of the exercise that I'm hoping you will take away from this to recreate from your imagination. If you're getting it, and at what level you might be getting it. So, comparing the divine expression of the self to another's can dull the luster of thyself. Make it such to find this observer, and for especially when the confusion might set in from losing to resistance. Like in the case in previous episode, where I confronted the child. I said, hey, do you want to say something? you know, you're like just coming in, and maybe you'll learn some respect. I know it's a public space, but I've been giving you as a background person, subject, more than what this is taking away from this episode, right now, right here. To give up the connection with the self over another, and to empower with something that is not. These inauthentic parts of the self as conflict have to find the relevance of love within the tyranny rejected. is to learn from those that do not know exactly how to love, and in the same for the self to feel for such experience. In the old way of doing things, in the old world, is fear porn, making up stories and disconnecting you with fear in order to control you. That level of respect is, again, a form of dark magic. So not everybody has it within themselves to be able to perform in that kind of way and engage with others. It might be detrimental to themselves because that's not what everybody's here to perform as. So the object is to clean, make whole, and honest of that which is not felt, and for any comfort within the self to reside. When giving up the fight, the self can find itself again and the path for it much clearer. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. Allowance will prevail the doors wide open for the light to network in the brain and where the mind resides to be. What pictures sit there from the past to overshadow, and for any future possibilities within the now, it might think it to overpower. These emotions that resist the effort of experiencing are what hath created as reality and made physical to witness by the senses, and that self is not alone in this. The conditions continue to amuse and think it real much longer while on this course, awaiting for an irrelevant interpretation from something outside of it as God to gift upon it miracles. From these rules, or laws rather, from this law or rules and regulations, the mind must overcome, and that emotions must be checked in to and dumbed down the self with how instead it grow wise and learn from such experience. The longer that enslavement is romanced, the freedom to love becomes hatred to control with, and with such disconnect over its very own power that it's not lack, but rather fear. So the purpose is to release and let go, and not to resist the obvious, rather see the self, what it is not, and awaken to the self-enlightenment, one step closer at a time, and for its reveal most certain. This thing called resistance, and from this episode to take away a piece more than was revealed, perhaps, to activate from within your DNA and genetic lineage. I will leave you with today's activation. Say it and see what you make of it. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself. Whatever it is that you're willing to allow to break free from resistance, even as resilience, if you may, you will still be working through it, or just letting it go with nothing to prove for it. Just say, thank you so very much. You served me well. I've learned everything there is to learn, and I set you free to find another that may require this lesson. And with those that once you resonated because of it, you will no longer, unless they have and were able to release it from their karma, if you will, opportunities that come forth that will allow you to break free from it and upgrade or promote for something else to come in that will be better serving. So for one thing, you can replace it with another that's better suited and preferred. And once again, take another deep breath in. When I back off to reconnect with my destiny as the observer, whatever I allow will rearrange itself.